I'll toss over to Martin Senior.
Hi, my name is Michael Marston. I'm the Chairman and Chief Executive of Ho Valley Energy. Ho Valley Energy, as Zoe mentioned, is listed on the ASX. We have a market cap of 30 million Australian dollars, which translates into around about 18 million pounds. And I want to talk about our assets. As Zoe mentioned, we've announced to the Australian market that we're seriously considering a dual listing on the AIM and the London markets. There is just a much greater understanding and much more comparable companies listed on the AIM, listed on the LSE to what we're doing. And a dual listing is very seriously on the cards. If we haven't decided to proceed at this stage, but if you have an interest, please speak to the kind people at Hope, and they'll keep you informed in terms of our thinking and progress. Let me jump straight to the most important page, which is the summary of the 4 assets that underpin the company's progress and evaluation. I'll go into the details of each of these assets, but just in summary, 4 assets. Number 1 off the blocks is Selva. Selva was one of E&I's largest production fields, produced over 2.6 million cubic metres of gas. We acquired the field by application. We successfully drilled a very successful well, the Dere Maya 1 Deer, which was completed early in 2018. And our number 1 focus is to go through the final regulatory approvals on that asset, spend 2.3 million euros and put it into production. What does production look like for an investment of 2.3 million euros of capital? It looks like around about 3.5 million cubic feet a day of gas flow, which translates on an annual basis. And these numbers are all in a competent person's report on the website, to nearly 8 million euros per annum in annual cash flow. So, small investment, very large rate of return, very high IRR. Very important that we expand and we put silver into production, and as importantly, once it's in production, once it's generating large cash flows, we have the capacity to take it from its reserves of 3.4 BCF of gas, which is the certified reserves of the competent person's report, to add 14.1 BCF of additional production through resources which currently sit in the south and north flank. That's contingent resources that have production wells previously in them that we can put into production. And then there's a further estimate of nearly 91 BCF of gas fields sitting within that production concession. So, silver is number 1 asset. Small capital, large cash flow. Tio Rico is our second most important gas field development. It actually contains our largest reserves of gas and is an offshore North Adriatic development. The Northern Adriatic is where the great bulk of Italian natural gas is produced. There are prolific gas fields, and I'll show you some of those in a moment. But just in terms of the top line, putting Tio Rico into production is around about 50 million euros of capital expenditure, and that'll generate nearly 10 million cubic feet a day of gas production and around about 17 million euros per annum of cash flow. It's a project that leverages existing E&I infrastructure, existing production platforms, existing pipelines that connect this area back to the national grid in Italy, and it's a very advanced development through the approval process. We spent over €1 million in terms of feed studies, geological studies, acquisition of 3D seismic, and we have preliminary ground and production concession, we have primary environmental approval, and we're moving this project steadily forward to large-scale production. So 2 gas fields which have wells that have been drilled in the main production reservoirs, and very clear programs from both a regulatory and an operational and development program to be put in production. In addition to those 2, I guess, priority focus fields, we have 2 very large-scale oil/gas condensate exploration assets. They're probably more advanced. In particular, the Banyolo asset is actually significantly more advanced than just an exploration asset, because it actually has 3 wells in it, and in total 43.4 million barrels of contingent resources. The first exploration assets, we call them, are Banyolo and Rapitza. These are 2 large onshore discoveries of oil close to Bologna, drilled by E&I, tested. We have a full suite of technical information on these 2 projects, and we own 100%. Our priority with Banyolo, which is the biggest of the 2, is to locate the well, to design a horizontal drilling program, and we're highly confident that on the basis of the horizontal well program, we can we'll probably have 1, possibly a 2 well development, generate very significant quantities of oil production from that field. The final asset is Torre Moro. Torre Moro is a very large faulted anticline trap. In dimension, from the seismic work we've done, it's at the order of 1.5 to 2 kilometres wide and about 2 kilometres depth. We declared maiden resources on that field of 106 million barrels recoverable, so it's large, it's onshore, and again we have 100%. So the near-term money and cash flow is going to come from Selva and Tita-Rico, but put the oil assets also into context. There is very large upside and valuation in those, and we'll do sensible things over the next 12 to 18 months to significantly add value and boost investor understanding of the value of those assets. So where are we? We're in northern Italy. Selva is literally 40 minutes drive from Bologna International Airport. Tita-Rico is in the Adriatic, about 35 kilometres due east of Ravenna, which is the, somebody said the other day, is the equivalent of the Aberdeen of the Italian market. That's where all the infrastructure for offshore development is. Rapitza and Banyolo are here, to the west of Bologna, and Torre Moro is to the southeast. All in a prolific hydrocarbon province. Italy is a very, very attractive market for gas production. It is the 3rd largest consumer of gas in Europe. It has very, very good fiscal terms, so that companies that invest in Italian oil and gas retain a very large amount of the cash flow that comes from development. And probably much unknown to most Italians, Italy actually has the 3 largest oil and gas condensate fields in Europe. So it is actually a very large hydrocarbon province. It's also a very good place to sell gas. The map hasn't shown as clearly as it might, but 92% of gas coming into Italy is imported. We can sell every single cubic metre of of gas that we produce directly into the national grid, and the bulk production, the bulk consumption of Italian national gas is in the north where we operate. So we literally go from the wellhead straight into the pipeline grid, and we get the wholesale price, like the same price that we're rushing to getting when they land the gas in Italy at the wellhead. Prices are currently around about $7 US per MCF. That's multiple times the US price. It tends to be at a premium to the European price, and Italy is subject to supply from some pretty problematic countries. Russia accounts for the nearly 50%. Libya, which is in the middle of a civil war, which has huge volatility in their supplies, is also one of the countries they're dependent upon, and Algeria is the third. So very problematic supply, very large gas consumption. We're right in the middle of the consumption zone. Let me talk about silver, and let me talk also about Italy. So the Po Valley of Italy is onshore, and then offshore is where all the large and very large primary discoveries of gas have been. You've got fields like Dosso dell'Angeli, which has produced over 200 million barrels of oil equivalent in the form of gas delivered into the market. Sitting all around Silver Malvezzi field, which is where we have the discovery of the silver gas field. You have very large, almost giant relevant gas fields that E&I has successfully put in production and produced from. The silver field is right next to and on trend with Minervio, which was one of the largest producers of gas in Italy, over 12 billion cubic feet of gas, and is now one of the largest gas storage fields in Europe. So we're right in the zone with some of the best sands. To put our silver field into production is very low cost. So why is it so low cost? It's low cost because the gas is 99.5% methane. So to convert that gas into a product that can go directly into the pipeline requires a small modular gas processing plant. Very low cost. Suppliers have supplied us in the past with exactly this plant to be able to take the minor amounts of moisture out of the gas before it goes into the pipeline. Second reason it's so low cost to develop is because it's very close to the pipeline grid. So this is the pipeline grid. This is the production well that's in place. A 1 kilometre pipeline takes the gas directly into the pipeline grid, and we get paid, usually our off-take customer is Shell, and we get the wellhead price, we get the wholesale price of the wellhead, and that is very attractive economics. So on a gas field like this, very low capital cost to put into production. The plants are fully automated, so there is no manning. We have a maintenance person who go to that plant site about twice a week. And there's no transportation costs because we build the pipeline that goes directly into the grid and we receive the wholesale price. So once you get a large field like silver into production, you generate very, very strong cash flows. We have the ability to substantially expand the cash flows that we expect from the silver development. This page is a little bit complicated, but in very simple terms, Podere Maiar is in the green is where we've drilled the well, we have the downhole production equipment, and where we have 13.1 BCF of gas. We have in Silver East a very large 35 BCF structure that is very much on trend with exactly the same field structure that we just drilled and completed in early 2018. We have the silver north and south flanks, which have 14 BCF of 2C resources. 2C resources, think about that as drill, produce, very low risk in terms of adding to the production and reserves. And we have a very large structure, currently around about 40 BCF of gas in Recadena, which we think with some further work will be substantially larger. What's important is all of this additional gas sits within our production concession application, and with relatively limited work we can expand our resources and reserves, which are currently in Padera MIR at 13 BCF to a target of 100 BCF. 13 BCF has a net present value of $25 million. You add a 4-well development and you're very, very substantially increasing both the cash flow and the valuation of this one asset. So that's what we're focused on. Get the field into production, low capital cost, use the cash flows that come from that to substantially expand the overall production from the field. So that's silver. Valuable, justifies probably our entire market capitalisation just on one well that's in place. Substantial scalability. Tita. Again, northern Italy and the northern Adriatic is one of the most prolific gas production zones in Western Europe. Our licence areas in the green, our production development is in the blue, and sitting around our licence are very, very large Italian offshore gas development fields, which are all serviced out of Ravenna. I mean, just to put that in context, Porto Garibaldi, 600 million barrels of oil equivalent of gas production. We're focused on putting our Tita licence into production using all of the seismic, all of the actual wells that have been drilled into it, but also using existing E&I infrastructure. So we'll drill 2 wells from a jack-up rig in our licence. We'll then run a 12-kilometre tie line to Naomi Pandora, and I'll show you what Naomi Pandora looks like in a moment. But that's an E&I gas processing facility that is connected by pipeline to the national grid in Italy. And that puts us into production. So it's a relatively straightforward development with low offshore development costs in a very, very prolific hydrocarbon province. This is Naomi Pandora. That's in place. For verification, if you zoom into the picture, you can actually see its name on the site. What we do to put Tita into production is we'll construct a small tripod platform in Ravenna, huge amount of capacity to do that. We'll drill 2 wells degated from the one location connected to that tripod using a jack-up rig. We'll then run a 12-kilometre tie line to Naomi Pandora, and once we get into Naomi Pandora, we're effectively connected to the national grid, and we're getting those wholesale prices again, which are the very highest prices in Western Europe. So that's asset number 2. As I mentioned, preliminary water production concession, primary environmental approval, some minor environmental approvals that we're working through at the moment, and we're taking it forward quickly towards development. I won't spend as much time on the 2 oil assets, but firstly, this is Bagnola and Ravizza. They're kind of like twins. They're 10 kilometres apart. They're drilled about the same time. There are wells. There is production from E&I tested wells. Probably the big thing, or the big difference, is these wells were drilled in the 1980s. In that time, there was not horizontal drilling technology. They were effectively vertical wells. They tested at reasonably good oil flows. But if you come back into these fields, which have very high levels of geological and well definition, you can, with a horizontal well, achieve significantly higher flow rates of oil. So one of our priorities post-dual listing will be to site the well, design a horizontal well production program, probably just one well, to drain what is currently 2C contingent resources of nearly 30 million barrels of oil. Get that out into the market, let people understand the revenue generation and the cash generation that will come from the development of that field, and then progress it towards drilling and probably joint venture farming. We own 100% of this asset, which has hard contingent resources in place. Final asset is Torridemara. Torridemara is a very large anticline fault trap. It covers, as I mentioned, dimensions from the seismic work of 1.5 kilometres by 2 kilometres. That is a very large structure. We spent over €1 million buying the seismic, processing the seismic, doing very detailed evaluation of it. It's very unusual to have a very large structure southeast of Bologna of this size. The team, as Zoe mentioned, is very experienced and sees very strong analogies between this field and Villa Fortuna, which is probably one of the largest and most successful gas field developments in northern Italy. I won't go into the technical details, certainly without my technical director, but if you look at the geology of Villa Fortuna, and you look at the geology and fault structure of Torridemara, they're very similar, they're almost analogous. Villa Fortuna, by way of example, produced over 230 million barrels of 42 degrees gas condensate from its production to date. It's been producing for over 20 years, so it's down near the end of its field life. But we're seeing in Torridemara not only a maiden resources of over 100 million barrels recoverable, but very, very significant potential to de-risk the asset and put together a very attractive drilling program for it. So, just in summary, we have a very balanced portfolio. Our feet are firmly on the ground, focused on silver, low capital cost, large cash flow, large IRR. Tito Rico, large scale, ability to be financed and put into production relatively efficiently. And again, large gas flow and cash flow. And then 200 million barrel onshore oil, gas condensate fields, which we think with the right program, the right team, we can add very significant news flow and value to these assets, particularly over the next 18 months. So, very pleased to introduce these assets to you. As I mentioned at the introduction, we've got a market cap of about £18 million. Barney Gray has written a very good research piece that you can see in the TPI research. He values it as we're currently at about 5.5 Australian cents on the Australian stock market. Barney values us at about 11.5 cents. So there's lots of upside there with just initial broker's valuation, and it's a modest amount of capital to take these projects forward. Thank you.
Good presentation, thank you. You mentioned horizontal drilling, which I think in our world equals fracking. Would you like to comment on the sort of regulatory and likely environment you're going to face particularly about the problems you might have?
Absolutely no fracking. I wouldn't, in Italy or almost any European country contemplate fracking. I think there's just too much psychological opposition to it. Levitsa and Banyolo are carbonate resources. They're fractured carbonates. When E&I originally drilled and tested the well, they got flows of oil, reasonable flow rates to the surface without any well stimulation. We're not fracking. We're talking about using horizontal drilling to enhance the flow rates of large, well-defined oil production structures.
Mark, we've financed the company so far from equity. Obviously, the high impact exploration assets are going to be a lot more capital intensive. What are your views on taking that forward after investment?
So, the capital we'll deploy in the next, say, 6 to 12 months on those two very large scale oil assets is very modest. Designing a drilling program, getting the rich data sets that we have on the three of them turned into production schedules, revenue. We can bring a huge amount of light, and we can also de-risk these two assets quite considerably with of the order of $500,000 of capital expenditure. Our focus will very much be on silver, small amount of capital, most likely raised by a dual listing or alternatively for a listing, further capital raising in Australia, and that gets us into significant cash flow that we can reinvest in the silver field. And Tita Rico, there are a large number of very attractive financing options that in other places we've executed, and we're highly confident that we'll be able to put Tita Rico in production.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cultural differences that are changing in Italy at the moment, especially with things like Brexit that happened. There's an Italian movement at the moment as well. You said that Italy is the third largest consumer of gas.
Yeah.
Firstly, why do you know why they are the third largest consumer of gas?
Well, firstly, that France has nuclear, so if you like, Italy is the fourth largest economy in Europe, so it's Germany, UK, France, Italy, but France is highly dependent, probably sensibly on their nuclear production, so that Italy moves into third place in terms of consumer, and that consumption is growing fairly strongly.
Okay, and that could change, like, based on the cultural differences that are occurring in Italy at the moment.
I think gas is going to continue to be a very important source of fuel in Italy, and it's comparatively very low in terms of CO2 emissions. It fits with their generation strategy, and I can't see a major move away from natural gas in the short term.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, hi. Yeah, how far down the road are you to dual listing? Have you started the process yet?
So we've announced our intention with the Australian Stock Exchange. We've done paperwork, and any of those of you who have been associated with the London Stock Exchange know there's a lot of paperwork. And we're just seeking to fully understand what is the opportunity and what is the potential to move to being listed on the ASX, which is a long way away from the market, to London, where there's a much greater understanding of dynamics of the European energy segment and the opportunities for expansion of these assets that we have.
Thank you very much.
So close.
Thank you. Mark Marston, CEO of Mobile.